So this movie is called Raya and the Last Dragon, and yeah, it's because in the movie Raya does befriend a dragon, but this dragon is pretty crazy. She gets out of control at times. You know, it's one of those things where Sisu's like, I want to do all this stuff, and Raya's like, no, you gotta stay here and, do things according to the plan. What I'm getting at is that it's a shame that Raya did not have a book or a movie instructing her how to train a dragon. Raya and the Last Dragon. So Raya and the Last Dragon is the newest movie from Walt Disney Animation Studios. I love them, because I love most of the movies they released in the past decade. Tangled, Frozen, Moana, Big Hero 6, Wreck-It Ralph. So now, their first movie of the 2020s takes place in the fictional land of Kumandra, influenced by Southeast Asian cultures like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. The people are divided into different lands, and Raya, voiced by Kelly Marie Tran, has to go on an adventure with Sisu, the Last Dragon, voiced by Awkwafina, an adventure filled with lore and mythos and humor, lots of humor. They're gonna try to reunify the Dragon Gem and bring the peoples of Kumandra back together. And now we have our new Disney movie, which is playing in theaters everywhere but where I am in LA. So I had to get it for $30 on Disney+. But unlike Mulan, this was worth it, for the most part. Alright, first off, Raya. Like I predicted she would be, she's awesome. She's a warrior. She knows how to fight with her sword whip like Byleth in Super Smash Bros. Whenever she throws down, I loved it. The choreography of the fighting scenes in this movie was awesome. They were intense and exciting and fast-paced. Kind of, harkening back to the kung fu movies of old. And Kelly Marie Tran actually does a great job as a voice actress here. As I was watching the movie, I was like, yeah, Kelly Marie Tran, I believe the emotions. I just found that she has a really good voice for voice acting. I feel like if they stuck with Cassie Steele, who was the original choice for Raya, I don't feel like the emotions coming out of Raya's lines would have had the same impact as they do now that she's voiced by Kelly Marie Tran. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but what I'm saying is that Kelly Marie Tran was a perfect choice for Raya, seriously. She definitely deserves some recognition in Hollywood after Star Wars did her wrong, and I think thanks to this movie, she's on her way there. Now, as for the dragon Sisu, voiced by Awkwafina, like we saw in the second trailer, she's not some big epic dragon who talks like Smaug from The Hobbit. No, she talks all hip and cool because she's voiced by Awkwafina. She talks really fast, she does remind me of the genie from Aladdin, and that's an aspect of this movie that made me go, okay, I mean, I'll get into it later, but I did end up liking Sisu as a character. She was really cool. I want my own Sisu dragon now, because she can do a lot of cool stuff. And one other interesting character in this movie, her name is Namari. She's voiced by Gemma Chan. The trailers didn't really elaborate much on her, so I'm not going to elaborate much on her here in this video. All I'm going to say is that her story arc in this movie is probably one of the best parts of the movie, because it was really good. It was deep. Now, one thing that really grabbed me in this movie was the lore and the mythos of Kumandra. The backstory of the whole land, it was so gripping from the get-go. I was like, yeah, all right, I'm in. In that way, it kind of reminded me of Kubo and the Two Strings, this one animated movie that might not get a sequel, as far as we know yet, but it has its own world with very interesting lore. I always gotta give props to an animated movie that does that. And it always makes me wonder who comes up with this kind of stuff, and how does it happen? I'm just saying, I want to be in the room where that happens. Also, I just have to say, this has to be the most beautiful Disney animated movie I have ever seen in my life. And I'm not just talking about the details in the animation, because for the past few Disney animated movies, we've seen that they have just top tier attention to detail when it comes to their animation. Now, I'm talking aesthetically. The design of the land, the colors are super fresh, they're vibrant, and the shapes they take, it was just so beautiful. It really did suck that I had to watch it on a TV screen instead of a movie theater screen. Because I feel like some of the visuals in this movie, they would be like a really nice screensaver, Or like those demos you see on TVs at Costco, where you're just like, wow, look at that landscape. I would love to go there for a vacation or something someday. So with a strong story and strong characters and really strong visual effects, you would think this movie could do no wrong. But then comes the humor. And look, I'm not saying that no one's gonna find this movie funny. I'm sure a lot of people will. I'm just saying from my perspective, a lot of the humor did not land with me. For me, I didn't feel like this movie could find the balance between serious and funny that well. I felt like when the movie was being serious, it was really good. It was gripping. I was like, all right, we're in for an adventure in this mystical land with warriors and magic. But then all of a sudden, some humor will come in and it feels out of place here. Because the characters are acting all modern like they're from 2021. in a movie that probably takes place in the year 0 BC or something. You know what I mean? It feels out of place, more than it usually does in other Disney animated movies these days. Like in Frozen, for example, they talk modern, yeah, sure, but they don't overdo it, you know? I mean, you have one comedy relief character in Frozen, that's Olaf, but everyone else in that movie is, you know, serious most of the time. In this movie, Raya and the Last Dragon, you have this whole crew of misfits that are just nothing but humor. The one that did make me laugh, though, I will say is Boone, because that kid has to be the smoothest kid I've ever seen in anything. I'll admit he did make me laugh, he was funny. But other than him, you know, the baby annoyed the heck out of me. In fact, it got so bad, at a point, I was like, if this baby died at the end of the movie, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It feels bad to say, but that's just how I felt, because babies don't act like that, and it just felt like the most cartoony thing in the movie. The big guy, voiced by Benedict Wong, I didn't really care for him much at all. And I know, this is a Disney animated movie for kids mainly. I mean, I know it's for all ages, but, you know, main demographic, it's kids. And little kids are going to love this movie, as per usual with all of them. And they're gonna love the baby. They're gonna love all the humor. So it's one of those things where kids will love all the humor, the adults, maybe not so much. But they'll still like the lore and mythos and adventure aspect of it, because I did. In that way, the movie's kind of like Thor Ragnarok, where I love the story aspect of it, but I also felt that there was a little too much humor in it, and it didn't really find that balance. For me, I felt like Thor Ragnarok was adventure, humor. And with this movie, Raya, I felt like it was like adventure, humor. Yeah, not as bad as Thor Ragnarok, but it was kind of like that. I mean, the abundance of weird humor in this movie didn't bring it that far down for me. I still really enjoyed this movie overall, but it did bring it down, and I just had to address that in my review. So, alright, after hearing me whine about the biggest gripe I had in this movie, you want to hear one more thing that I really liked about it? Well, if you do want to hear it, you should probably go to iTunes, because the soundtrack is awesome. It's James Newton Howard, so it's no surprise there, but oh my god. This music is like as beautiful as the visuals that go with it. Seriously, there are like choirs and, you know, Asian-inspired instruments in the score. About 15 minutes into this movie, I was like, alright, I'm probably gonna get the soundtrack, because it's great stuff. Even the credits, I was sitting there watching the credits that looked aesthetically beautiful, listening to the aesthetically beautiful music, and I was like, I'm in love here. So in the end, I really did enjoy Raya and the Last Dragon. I love the adventure, I love the lore and mythos, I love the characters for the most part. I am gonna watch it again for sure. You know, get my money's worth out of it. It's a beautiful movie, as I've been saying. Just the balance between the seriousness of the story and the humor, it felt off to me. A lot of the humor felt out of place in my opinion. But to me, that did not detract that much from the movie as a whole. So if you don't live in California, for Raya and the Last Dragon, I will say, go see this movie while it's in theaters. Forgive me, it's been a while since I've done that. So, Raya and the Last Dragon, have you seen it yet? What did you think about it? And who is your favorite fictional dragon? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.